than under new coordinator Sean Mannion.
That's a goal for him. One thing I know about Hurts, he's been having.
As a former player, you see these videos and you try not to assume or place anything on anyone because you don't know what's going on. But as I look at it, he's already went on videos and mentioned numerous times that he's going to be a part of the Commanders team. If all of that was to happen, if I was his friend, I would just say, hey, just put the phone down. Yeah. Just go work out and don't say anything. Yep. Because for all of the necessary steps, you talked about applying for the reinstatement with Commissioner Goodell and doing all of those things, being released. All of those things he doesn't have to do. File the paperwork and then let all of those things take its course. Then when whoever signs you, you show up renewed and ready to go. From everything from the outside looking in, it looks like a troubled person that's posting videos and doing all these things of this nature. I hope somebody does take a flyer and signs him on a veteran minimum so that he can be back in the locker room. I think that's such a key component of being back around guys, being on routine, and being with people that have your best interest in mind.
Where are the people who love him in his life, in his circle? They take that phone and put it in a safe somewhere because it just continues to get worse. And if you're Washington, you can go sign a Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, who would be less of a headache right now to bring them in. The Washington Commanders don't really need this at this point.
Jalen Hurts in the passing game. And Slay, you talked about being in that locker room. So much from the outside, us as analysts, we have so much to say about Jalen Hurts. Super Bowl MVP, an unbelievable career so far. They're going to get back to quarterback under center, play action, throwing the ball over the middle. Is that something that you believe Jalen Hurts can thrive in under new coordinator Sean Mannion?
That's a goal for him. One thing I know about Hurts, he's been having different coordinators for the whole career, so he's very good at adjusting. But one thing Hurts, he's going to find a way to make him comfortable. So with him being under center, I think will be a new test for him. You know, turning his back to the offense, to the defense, and seeing a different picture from when he's seen it from under the center to when he turned his back to now he's seeing a different. So it's going to be a good challenge for him. And one thing about Hurts, he loves a challenge, and he like to exceed those challenges. So I'm looking forward to the season. I'm rooting for my guys to do their thing. I need them to go ahead and win the NFC East.
Jalen Hurts in the passing game. And Slay, you talked about being in that locker room. So much from the outside, us as analysts, we have so much to say about Jalen Hurts. Super Bowl MVP, an unbelievable career so far. They're going to get back to quarterback under center, play action, throwing the ball over the middle. Is that something that you believe Jalen Hurts can thrive in under new coordinator Sean Mannion?
That's a goal for him. One thing I know about Hurts, he's been having different coordinators for the whole career, so he's very good at adjusting. But one thing Hurts, he's going to find a way to make him comfortable. So with him being under center, I think will be a new test for him. You know, turning his back to the offense, to the defense, and seeing a different picture from when he's seen it from under the center to when he turned his back to now he's seeing a different. So it's going to be a good challenge for him. And one thing about Hurts, he loves a challenge, and he like to exceed those challenges. So I'm looking forward to the season. I'm rooting for my guys to do their thing. I need them to go ahead and win the NFC East.
Since we're talking draft, we now welcome in ESPN draft analyst Jordan Reed. Jordan, we've been talking about this 2027 quarterback class since before the 2026 draft actually took place. So lay it on us. How many quarterbacks should we expect to see in the first round in 2027?
Yeah, guys, this is the class everybody has really been looking forward to. We only saw 2 quarterbacks go in the first round a year ago. But this year, I think is very reminiscent to what we saw in 2021. I think we could get as many as 5 that go in the first round, headlined by 2 quarterbacks at the top of the draft, and Arch Manning of Texas, and then also Dante Moore of Oregon. Then after that, you have a lot of other quarterbacks people are excited about. C.J. Carr of Notre Dame, Drew Mestamaker of Oklahoma State, even Darian Mensah of Miami, and Lenore Sellers of South Carolina. So this draft is very reminiscent to 2021, where we saw 5 quarterbacks go inside of the top 15, headlined by Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, even though that draft didn't turn out a lot like a lot of people thought. But just speaking of the potential and what could happen in 2027, I believe 5 could go inside of the first round.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That list isn't likely to get too many people super excited, but maybe this one will go a little bit better. Of the guys in 27, which one do you have your eye on?
Yeah, I really agree with Jordan's point about strength in numbers, by the way. I think we're going to find our way to 5-ish first-round quarterbacks. But the one that has me most intrigued, and he might be a candidate for the 2028 NFL draft, is Drew Mestamaker, who did not start for his own high school team at quarterback. He was the backup to a player who ended up at Louisville. He was a safety and a punter. He goes to North Texas, plays a couple of years there, and puts up bananas numbers last year. Led the FBS in passing yards last season. He is incredibly big. He's a legit dual-threat quarterback. He's got this kind of funky, unique release. Reminds me a little bit of Phillip Rivers with the way that he throws the football. He is not like Phillip Rivers in terms of athletic ability or playmaking. He's at Oklahoma State. He followed his coach, Eric Morris, there. The competition ramps up dramatically. A huge test. But in late June, the guy that has me most intrigued, I just keep your eye on as we get to this season, is Drew Mestamaker.
Yeah, Phil, and then the two other quarterbacks you saw in that graphic was Arch Manning of Texas, who a lot of people are really excited about. There was huge expectations for him coming into the year, and everybody remembers that Ohio State game of where he did not play very well, what like a lot of people anticipated. But if you progressively saw him throughout the season, he got significantly better, specifically down the backstretch of the year. I go to that bowl game against Michigan. That is the player that a lot of people thought that they were going to get from the beginning of the season. So Arch Manning, I definitely think if he can build on what we saw at the end of the year, he has a chance to be a contender for the #1 overall pick. And then also Dante Moore, who comes back after only starting 20 career games, who potentially could have been the #2 overall pick behind Fernando Mendoza a season ago. He comes back for another year, and there's huge expectations for him coming into the year.
A new offense has led to success throughout Lamar's career. This is the third time that the Ravens have hired a new OC since drafting him in 2018. And the previous two times, he won NFL MVP in the first year with the new OC. He won 13 games in both of those MVP seasons with Greg Roman in 2019 and Todd Monken in 2023. So, Ben, how do you expect this offense to look different with Doyle now running the show?
I think it's less about how it looks different and more about how it actually sounds different. Declan Doyle comes from the Sean Payton tree and the Ben Johnson tree. Those are really wordy trees. Those coaches like to put a lot of language into their play calls. So the big difference that you hear Doyle talking about in minicamp is about stressing the guys out and making them really execute the details, because remember, Lamar doesn't have his center there in Tyler Linderbaum anymore. It's going to be a really new and inexperienced guy. So the big challenge for Lamar is going to be about getting in and out of the huddle, getting up to line of scrimmage, adjusting play calls. But once the ball is snapped, Doyle wants to throw to the middle of the field. Lamar's elite at throwing to the middle of the field. Doyle wants to get under center. Well, Lamar gets under center a lot more than the other hyper-mobile quarterbacks do. The personnel might be a little different. You'll probably see more three receiver sets, but to me, it's much more about the operation in Baltimore. If they can get the offense installed well, then they should take off fast in September. And yeah, that third MVP might be in the cards.
It's a great point about how losing Tyler Linderbaum is going to affect this change. Ben, you said a couple of things I think that are important to stress here. Lamar being under center, Lamar throwing over the middle of the field. There are a few offenses right now across the league transitioning to this sort of offense. Philadelphia, Washington, we're going to talk about later. It is the current trend in the NFL. But of all of those offenses, or all those quarterbacks rather, Lamar Jackson is the one I worry about the least, because as Ben said, he has been elite over the last 5 years under center, first in QBR. Throwing over the middle of the field, second only to Justin Herbert. In fact, he's better throwing over the middle field than he is to outside the numbers, so I see a fantastic fit. My question is less about Lamar Jackson, the new offense, and more about everybody else.
The man himself gracing us with his presence, because if you didn't know, the winners also go to Cancun here. Shed, you and the Seahawks, of course, are up for best team after winning the franchise's only second Super Bowl title, right? But we got to talk about what you did first, because not only did you walk away as a champ, but you had that late pick six to seal the deal. What do you remember most about that play?
Honestly, I just remember the ball ending up in my hands. You know, shout out to my teammates, Devin Witherspoon for making a great play. Shout out to Coach Mike for making a great call. And, you know, like you like to say on the defense, ball finds energy. And I just happened to be at the right place in the right time and, you know, able to take it to the house.
You guys were so consistent all season. At what point during the season did you really start to believe that this team could do something special?
Probably mid-season. You know, we were kind of up and down a little bit. And we kind of went on a win streak. And I remember that game against Jacksonville, speaking from a defensive standpoint, you know, it was a tough battle early on. You know, the Jags played it close. But the defense together were just making so many plays. And when everybody's around the ball having fun making plays like that, that's when you kind of know you got something special. And when it came down to it, the offense was able to answer. I'm able to put points on the board, which, you know, allowed us to win. So I'll probably say around Jacksonville week was the week that we knew we had something special.
And Jed, you've also got your teammate Jackson Smith-Njigba up for Best NFL Player of the Year. Why should everybody at home vote for him?
Just like you said, because he's the best NFL Player of the Year. You know, the things he was able to do offensively, new system, new quarterback. But Jack just stayed who he is, which is a composed guy. You know, he trusts his work, he trusts his athleticism, he trusts, you know, the coaches and his God-given talent. He was able to go out there this year and do a lot of special things, and he's just getting better and better. So Jackson's definitely the best player in the league this year.
Your team is stacked up against a loaded list of champions. Some ended droughts, others brought home gold. But why should you guys go home with the hardware in this category?
You know, we're just who we are. You know, we're obviously the best team in the NFL last year. We kept majority of our team this year, so why would we not be the favorites, you know, to go into this next season? So, well, we like when we have a chip on our shoulder. We like when we got something to prove. So it just adds fuel to the fire for us, and we're going to show the world again what we're about.
How about we go to Best NFL Player with the nominees beginning here. Matthew Stafford, the NFL MVP, becoming the third player to record more than 45 passing touchdowns with fewer than 10 interceptions in a season. Not only did Myles Garrett set the NFL record with 23 sacks in a single season, passing Michael Strahan and TJ Watt, Jackson Smith-Njigba, the NFL Offensive Player of the Year and Super Bowl champ, led the league in receiving yards with 1,793. And of course, Drake May was the only quarterback in the league to complete over 70% of his passes, tossing 31 touchdowns with just 8 interceptions. The MVP runner-up also led the Patriots to the Super Bowl in just his second season. That is quite a lineup there that we got, Harry.
Sure
I mean, Stafford, Garrett, Smith-Njigba, May. Again, May, what he was able to do to bring the Patriots back, as if the fans were suffering, right, for so long. But to be able to bring them back to the Super Bowl is everything. And then, of course, Matthew Stafford, right?
Yes.
They didn't quite make it to the Super Bowl, but to be able to do what they did with their offense, and he's a girl dad. I know my dad knows from personal experience, girls, they kick your butt and they make you want to be the best.
Without question. And our friends at NFL Live are going to help us all and weigh in with their thoughts on who should win the ESPY.
All right, thanks. So it's Best NFL Player of the Year. Doesn't have that word valuable in it.
Yep.
That trips so many people up during award voting season. Who was the best NFL player last year?
It does not have the word valuable. It also does not have the word quarterback. And there is a quarterback bias in awards, as we all know. It's been a long time that quarterbacks have been the most likely candidate for MVP. The best player in the NFL last year might be the best player in the NFL again this year. It's Myles Garrett, who is now a Los Angeles Ram. Last year, as a member of the Cleveland Browns, set the NFL single-season sack record and did so in a system in which there were a lot of games in which the Browns were playing from behind. Teams were just running the football against Cleveland. He had a 5-sack game against the AFC champion New England Patriots. He was unblockable. He was double-teamed. That didn't work. My vote goes to Myles Garrett as the NFL Player of the Year.
I'm going to actually show a little bit of quarterback bias here. I'm going Matthew Stafford, at least for 2025, was the very best player in the NFL. There's a slope there because quarterback's probably the hardest position. Matthew Stafford mastered it. It wasn't close. You talked to coaches and scouts around the league that said he was operating on a different level. I know the MVP vote was close to Drake May. The Stafford established himself. There are only 3 guys that have at least 45 touchdown passes and less than 10 interceptions. It's Tom Brady, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Matthew Stafford. It's a pretty good class.
It was unbelievable. I actually thought Drake May deserved the MVP over him, but I recognized it was a close race. I got to go with Field, though. I mean, I was at that game where Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in a loss in Foxborough. And I remember him after the game and how sort of morose he looked about it because they had lost and he was sick of losing. Yeah. So watching Myles Garrett go from Cleveland to the Los Angeles Rams and becoming a player that I think the entire world is going to be able to understand how great he is because the games will be in prime time and all those things. I think this is going to be a tremendous validation of what's already been a Hall of Fame caliber career. And if the MVP award could go to defensive, as we know, it does not. Players on losing teams, I think Myles Garrett might have won it last year, but